This is Screen Test, and we're breaking down most of the big categories coming up at this year's Academy Awards and the nominations, the narratives fueling them. I'm David Lynch.
And I'm Jackson Floyd. David, take us through the Best Actress category.
The nominees for Best Actress this year are Cynthia Erivo for Harriet, Scarlett Johansson for Marriage Story, Saoirse Ronan for Little Women, Charlize Theron for Bombshell, and Renee Zellweger for Judy.
So looking at these categories, looking at these names here in this category, something that stands out to me is Saoirse Ronan. Mm-hmm. She's 25 years old. Mm-hmm. This is her fourth nomination. She's the second youngest ever four-time nominee. I mean, for comparison, Meryl Streep reached her fourth nomination at the age of 34. The future is bright for Saoirse Ronan.
Are we sure she's only 25? I mean, let's talk about Saoirse for a second. She burst onto the scene when she was just, I believe, 13, or at least when it came out, with Atonement, when that movie came out. She was nominated for that. You don't see many 13-year-olds, teens, get nominated for Oscars. And she's just been with us ever since, kind of just building this career and taking that early acclaim into early adulthood. Now with Little Women, she's just been amazing. And I don't think it's out of the question that she could win in this category. She's an underdog for sure, but we have seen younger actresses win in recent Oscar history with Jennifer Lawrence, just a couple years ago for Silver Linings Playbook, and the first of her, I believe, like 4 nominations, and also with Jennifer Hudson too, with Dreamgirls. So it's not out of the question. It's cool to see her nominated for this because she's just been on a roll her entire career.
Yeah, and especially if you look at her past 2 roles here, and you're talking about Lady Bird and Little Women, she's kind of become like a second part of this dynamic duo with Greta Gerwig and Saoirse Ronan. Be interesting to see if they work together again in the future. If Greta Gerwig becomes a filmmaker who has a repertoire of actors that she draws from. Going down this list, though, I mean, is there someone that stands out to you that you think will win?
I think when you're looking at who will win here, this is one where I'm trusting my gut a little bit on this one. Most of the acting categories, you can argue, are pretty locked down. Last year we had an upset in this category, though, when the favorites Olivia Colman won over Glenn Close. A lot of people thought that's not what would happen, that Glenn Close would win. I think it might happen this year again with Scarlett Johansson. It's interesting with her because this is the first year that she's nominated, and she's nominated not just for 1 but 2 roles, Marriage Story and also Jojo Rabbit, over in Best Supporting Actress. Check out that video as well. And it's kind of interesting because you're playing into the whole, she's finally nominated, but also it's time with her. And there is the possibility that voters could split votes between her 2 performances in separate categories. But also, I think I can't help but consider that Marriage Story, I don't think, for as much as I love that movie, and as much as acclaim is received, it's not going to get a lot of love on Oscar night, I don't think, ultimately. Yeah. And I think they might think about that and push this award Johansson's way, possibly.
I mean, this would be the crowning achievement in what's been a pretty big year for Scarlett Johansson.
Sure.
Probably the biggest year in her career. You talk about not just this movie, but yeah, like Jojo Rabbit, like you said. And then on top of all that, was in the highest grossing franchise, you know, the Endgame. And her character was kind of on the precipice of this of Endgame there.
You might have heard of it.
Yeah. So a big year for her, of course, and it would be great for the Oscars to recognize her. Sure. I mean, I think it's going to go to Renee Zellweger. Just if you look at the landscape, look at the way everything's played out throughout the whole awards season. She's worked the campaign. She's been out there. She's been a major storyline throughout this whole thing, and she's garnered every award that she's been nominated for throughout. So
I mean, she's one that it's one of those with Renee Zellweger this year, and she's definitely the front runner. I can acknowledge that. She was kind of anointed the best actress winner kind of months before the movie even came out. When we saw those first images of her suited up as Judy Garland, I mean, we kind of like to talk about the narrative of the Academy tending to recognize the best transformation over the best acting, and she transforms into Judy Garland. You can't deny that, and she does pretty good in the role. And it's kind of interesting on a meta level as well because she plays Judy Garland, a character who is a little bit in the later stages of her career, trying to come back onto the big stage after an absence. Same with Renee Zellweger. She hasn't been in a movie in the better part of a decade. Kind of the same thing with her as well. So it's kind of parallel narratives there between her as a person and the person that she's playing.
Yeah, kind of a self-reflective storyline throughout all this. And the Academy tends to like things like that.
Sure.
I do see shades of last year, like you were saying, though, where Glenn Close, for The Wife, kind of anointed, you know, this is her time. Glenn Close, unlike Renee Zellweger, hadn't won an award. You know, Zellweger's has won before. She's been nominated before. But yeah, like last year with The Wife, I don't think anyone has seen Judy. You know, that was kind of the joke around it, and the discourse last year was no one had seen The Wife.
Right. I still haven't.
Yeah, and Judy is a small movie like that.
Yeah.
I think it's not a very critically acclaimed movie, though her performance is very well recognized.
Yeah.
And yeah, someone like Johansson could sweep in and take it. And that's who I think you should win. If you look at her performance in the movie, I mean, the scene that stands out and a lot of people are talking about is the big monologue she delivers, the one take, the camera's still rolling. She's talking to Laura Dern, her lawyer, explaining how her relationship with Charlie fell apart. And she's in one room talking. She walks into another room. The monologue continues. She comes back. That monologue is just so emotionally delivered. Just an incredible performance from her. But it's not always the talking that does that tells the story in this film.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hitting the nail on the head there. She's great in dialogue when she's delivering Noah Baumbach's great dialogue. She's also great when she's just being quiet and reacting to other characters. When she's reacting to what Adam Driver's saying, and then steadily shouting in the movie's big climactic fight scene, to how she's reacting to Laura Dern's lawyer character, who kind of enters the story and becomes a big part of it. And I'm thinking about one scene in particular in the courtroom when Laura Dern and Ray Liotta's dueling lawyers are kind of sparring against each other. And kind of in the same way as Adam Driver's doing, Scarlett Johansson is just kind of sitting there and staring straight ahead. And while she's on the surface level maybe not doing a lot, you kind of realize all the emotions that are welling up under her eyes and under her face without her even saying anything. All these conflicting emotions brewing in this, well, we're going to start by an amicable separation. All of a sudden it's escalating into something much more explosive and her having to reckon with that.
Yeah, she doesn't know the can of worms she's opened.
Right.
I mean, they were talking out at the beginning, we're not going to do this through lawyers. But she's the one who goes to the lawyer first, and that's kind of unspirals from there, leads to a very emotionally violent argument between the two of them at the climax of the film there. And then she's also the one who puts a bow on the whole thing. If you literally and metaphorically at the end there. And she's not the person that you sympathize the most with through the movie. And Adam Driver's character is getting a lot of the critical acclaim, mainly because he's the sympathetic character. In the film, you look at a male director, male part, there's going to be a lot of sympathy there. But she brings it all back at the end. And not to give away too much of the movie, but suddenly the emotion resonates with her and the sympathy resonates with her. And it's impressive to see that kind of sympathetic swing take place in the movie. And Scarlett Johansson's performance lends a lot to that.
Definitely. So we're on agreement that she should win, Scarlett Johansson, for what she does in Marriage Story. On a scale of 1 to 5, what would your outrage meter be at if Zellweger does end up taking the prize like you're predicting?
I'm probably about halfway through the meter. I'd say 2.5, leaning more 2.5 the more I think about it, because honestly, let's recognize movies people have seen. Let's recognize the performances and not the campaign. Renee Zellweger is running a great campaign. She's a fantastic actress, not to take anything away from her there, and not to take anything away from her transformation into Judy. There are better performances out there that I enjoyed, and Scarlett Johansson is that. So.
And maybe more than you emotionally connected to on a certain level.
Exactly. Where are you sitting right now on the outrage
on a scale of 1 to 4? 1 to 5, excuse me. If Johansson wins, first of all, I mean, I'm predicting it. I'm going with a gut feeling. It might not happen. I'm predicting it will. I would still have to say my outrage meter would be at a 4 if you let me get on my soapbox a little bit, Jackson. Here.
Go for it.
I don't know what more actresses doing their all in horror movies have to do to be recognized by the Academy. I'm thinking in particular of a couple of performances from the last 3 years. Essie Davis in The Babadook. Last year, Toni Collette in Hereditary. If you're talking about an Academy that loves flashy, showy, shouty roles, as they like to do over on the actor side of things, she gives a flashy, showy, demented, incredible role in Hereditary that the Academy did not recognize. I thought this year that they could do a little course correcting and recognize another indelible horror actress performance, in a horror movie from earlier this year in Jordan Peele's Us. Lupita Nyong'o, which she does in basically dueling roles in that movie. She's indelible, incredible. It's probably maybe objectively a top 2 performance actor or actress in a movie this year. And also, if we're going to keep going through this year, what about Florence Pugh in Midsommar? I mean, these are some of the year's most incredible, subtle, layered performances that just run the gamut as far as range. And I don't know what more that they have to do for the Academy to recognize horror. I thought maybe that Get Out a couple years ago kind of broke that ceiling. It was nominated for Best Picture. It won Jordan Peele a Screenplay Award. But as far as actresses in horror, they just keep getting shut out.
Yeah, and I mean, if you talk about sympathetic characters, people that you are emotionally resonant with. Florence Pugh is at the top of the list of this year's performances for Midsommar.
Yeah.
Just a remarkable performance for her. The Academy does a poor job recognizing horror films, like you said. And yeah, I mean, they
They exist, Academy. Watch them. Watch them.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're not sending them the screeners. I don't know. But anyways, that's the Best Actress category. I mean, we both think that Scarlett Johansson deserves to win.
Mm-hmm.
We're a little in disagreement of who will win. Check out the rest of our videos breaking down all of the nominations here at Screen Test Goes to the Oscars. Click that little subscribe button at the bottom right hand for all of the rest of your Screen Test content here and all other great content from Kins 5. I've been Jackson Floyd with the Kins 5 digital team.
And I'm David Lynch. And also, if you'd like to read some of our reviews of some of the Oscar-nominated movies this year, I've written about all the Best Picture contenders as well as some of the other ones. You can check that out at kins5.com/screentest. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys next time.